Okay, so for today's lesson, we're going to discuss the global networks, and under this are labor and migration. Okay, so when we say globalization, it is the most powerful force for change in the world today, affecting all societies in the planet. So it entails the movement of capital, free flow of goods and services, the increased mobility of individuals, and the expansions of multinational corporations and transnational organizations. Okay. So it has integrated the product and financial markets of economies around the world through the driving forces of trade and capital flows across borders. So one of the goals of globalization is for the world to become more interdependent. So our country is part of the globalization. One of the best example is the K to 12 program. So before, there's no grade 11 and 12. Iba ang education program dati compared ngayon. So it is part of globalization. K to 12 program happened to add educational experience for the learners today. So, gusto nila na pumantay ang educational status nyo, mga learners ngayon, sa mga learners sa ibang bansa. Because there are country na hindi nila tinatanggap pag kulang ang educational background mo. Kahit may license ka na, or kahit madami kang certificates na ipapakita. So that's why our government adopt the education of other countries. Okay. So, one of the goals of globalization is for the world to become more interdependent. So, when we say interdependent, meaning umaasa tayo sa isa't isa. Hindi lang sa isang bansa, kundi sa maraming bansa. Okay? So, tulungan. Tulungan ng ibang bansa, tulungan ng ating bansa, nakikipag-coordinate ang bansa natin sa ibang bansa. Just like that. Ayan. So people and countries of the world are closely woven together, especially in the economic aspect. So it aims to standardize income distribution through its economic integration schemes. So it shows that globalization have advantages and disadvantages. Okay. So let's move on with migration. So migration, it is a movement of people from one territory to another for the purpose of taking up either a permanent or temporary residence. So because there's a lot of factors why people are migrating to other country, leave their own country, most of you siguro gustong mag-work abroad, right? Kasi mas maganda naman nga doon. Mas maganda ang lugar, mas malaki ang salary. So, yun ang ilan sa mga reasons why people are migrating to other country. Yung iba naman, gusto nila talaga sa ibang bansa, permanently. Yung iba naman, temporary. They just want to work. Okay. So, migration is said to be as old as human civilizations. And there is clear proof that globalization is inextricably related to it. So the growing demand for laborers of the most capitalist countries precipitated the migration of many families from the unprivileged communities. So kahit dito sa Pilipinas, parang maraming tao ang gustong mag-migrate sa Manila, lalo na yung mga nasa province. Kasi nakikita nila na mas maganda at mas madaming opportunity sa pagkatrabaho man yan o sa pag-aaral. Okay, so dito sa Pilipinas kasi may tinatawag tayo na provincial and Manila or city rate. So pag city rate, mas malaki compare sa provincial rate. Kaya karamihan sa nagtatrabaho sa province, mas gusto nila na lumipat or mag-work sa syudad or sa city kahit kahit nga kaya nga or mas malaki ang salary or sahod kaya nalipat sila ng city, yung mga taga-province. Okay? So, according to estimate, more or less 20% of the labor force in the Philippines wants to leave the country in search for a job abroad. Some of them become a victim of illegal recruitment and human trafficking. So, kaya if you are planning to work abroad, make sure na legit yung company or agency na papasukan nyo. Kahit nowadays, marami pa din ang nabibiktima ng illegal recruitment. Okay. So people migrate for various reasons. So the reasons may fall under four categories, and it could be environmental, political, cultural, and economic. Ayan. So, within these categories, National Geographic categorized them as push and pull factors of migration. So, when we say push factors, they are those that motivate people to move from one place to another because of difficulty such as food shortage, war, flood, etc. While in pull factors, they are those that motivate people to move their place to another place simply because of some desirable reasons, such as nicer climate, better food supply, freedom, and others. So, when we say push factor, tinutulak ka papaalis. So pag hindi kagandahan yung lugar, wala kang opportunities na nakikita, parang gusto mong lumipat or tinutulak ka papaalis. While when we say pull factor, hinahatak ka naman papalapit. May lugar na mas maayos, sibilisado, maraming opportunities at maganda ang lugar. So, parang nahahatak tayo na lumipat doon sa lugar na yun. So like Korea, parang halos lahat ng tao gusto magpuntang Korea because of the places and the food. Okay? So, we have different types of migration. We have internal migration, the external migration, immigration, and forced migration. Okay, so when we say internal migration, this is defined as the process where migrants look for a new residence within their own country, state, or continent. While the external migration, it is moving in a different country, state, or continents to a new residence. Okay, so while migration, it is leaving one country to move to another. And number four, the immigration, it is moving into a new country. Okay, and the last one is the forced migration. This happens when the state or authorities force its people to migrate for a reason. Okay. And so, migration, globalization, and climate change. So, um, okay, so natural calamities like earthquakes, tsunamis, typhoons, and floods have brought varying degrees of devastation around the world. So, the global consciousness that climate change may represent one of the most significant threats of the near future has stimulated humanity's collective interest in disaster. Ayan. So, ayan. So, um, what do you call this? 250 billion people are permanently displaced by climate change related phenomena such as floods, droughts, famines, and hurricanes. So, in the past 10 years alone, um, Asia had been hit by strong earthquakes, tsunamis, and typhoons that resulted to the loss of thousands of lives and left tens of thousands homeless in anguish. So placelessness, this entangles individuals and communities, often with detrimental effects to self-identity and well-being. So, global ecological and environmental movements have observed that those climate refugees are the people who migrate because of disaster and not by war or any conflict on their country. Okay, so that's it for our global networks. Hope you learned a lot today. Don't forget to write your name plus your section and a short key takeaway about our lesson for today. Thank you and see you on our next lecture.